Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind Podcast, a podcasting community by estate professionals for estate professionals, where we share the ideas and the access to people that help you work less, earn more, and do good in your community. If you get value in this free content, be sure to check out estateprofessionalsmastermind.com, where you can get live classes, access to weekly coaching, and free courses. To learn more, you can visit estateprofessionalsmastermind.com. Let's jump into this week's episode.
Hey, welcome to our Tuesday morning real estate brokerage coaching call for Probate Mastery and the Estate Professionals Mastermind. I'm Bill Gross, and I am a probate real estate broker based in Southern California, building a national team. But I'm not a professional coach. I'm a practitioner. I'm in this business every day, looking for more listings, selling property, and using probate, and base my business based on Chad's coaching. And I built a great business on that. We're here every week. And, just as a reminder for a couple of things. One, I think in any transformation, you need a couple of things. You need a system, which is the Probate Mastery coaching. You need a leader or coach, I think is Chad. And I'm trying to help support him on that. And third, you need a group of people, whether it be a community or church group or in this case, a mastermind group. And by working together, we can share victories, work through problems, share best practices, and encourage each other to do better in this every single day. Just real quick, as a reminder of where we come from, this is the Probate Mastery program. Chad is offering a free program for now, Lifestyle and Career Design. If you haven't taken it, it's great, free, it's on demand. And then second, paid program, the first paid program is a Probate Mastery certification program. And that's online and on demand. And then in addition to that, we have the Earn program, which is Earn Attorney Referrals Now. It's a way to get business from attorneys. And including the teaching is a lot of attorney input. Clients of Chad's, clients of our team, some of my clients. I'm on the class a little bit. And then if you're an alum of the program or in the coaching system, Estate Masters Professional Mastermind in Facebook is a free group. We have 6,500 members. Feel free to post in their content. I think it's a great way for you to boost your content. Ask questions, look for referrals for realtors as well as attorneys. And then I just want to promote my program, probateweekly.com. I host every Thursday at 4 o'clock. It's primarily interview driven. This week will be a local probate attorney, a litigator. It'll be interesting, I hope. I have vendors and such. And then I have my own Facebook group, which is Probate Weekly also in Facebook with 27 members there. And again, come in and ask questions and you can post in both spots. And I also say promote your content. Here's a friend of mine who has a podcast. I've encouraged him to do it. Post it in here. As long as it's on point, as long as it's related to probate, love to have you share it in my group as well. So that's what we have going on as far as the free program where we come from. And then I'd like you to, if you would, a couple of things, put in the chat box, a couple of things. One is feel free to put your networking information in. Your name, address, phone number, what city and county you work out of. So if we look for referrals, we know where to get to you. I'd love you to answer two questions for me today so I can help me help you be more effective in this call today. I'd love to be participative. That's what's designed to be. You can ask questions in the chat box, or you can raise your hand on the Zoom app. But I'd love you to put, in addition to your networking information, thank you, Donna. I'd like you to answer two questions, or you can put both answers in the same question, or you can even add me in with your networking information, which is number one, were you in your real estate business? And I would say 1, 2, and 3. 1 is a starter. I'm brand new. I'm starting out. I've been in business, but I'm starting into real estate sales. So I haven't really closed much, or I closed my first deal maybe. Second is I'm in survival mode. I'm selling some property, but not enough to make a living. I'm really struggling, and I'm looking for something that will get me over that hump to help me be a professional and build a career or a business. And third is success, which is somebody who's maybe already paying the bills, been in business a while, but you're looking for more. So 1, 2, or 3. If you're a starter, 1, kind of survival mode, 2, and success, 3. And that way I can make sure I answer things based on your guys' place. And then the other question I would ask you is, what kind of area do you work in? And I would say, again, 1, 2, and 3, from 1 being a city, I'm in Los Angeles, so I put 1. 2 would be suburb. I used to work in Diamond Bar or Walnut, which are kind of just suburbs of LA, if not LA proper, just outside the reach. You could be 1 or 2 there. And 3 would be semi-rural, rural. So if you're in Temecula or Victorville, California, I don't know how to describe the same areas in other parts of the country, but if you're in an area that you would describe as either rural or semi-rural, I guess if more people ride horses than take trains and buses, I guess that'd be one definition of it. Anyhow, so please put that in. That way I can answer questions and hopefully hit you guys where the right place. So you see a lot of 2s, which was my suspicion, mostly 2s and some 1s. And number 3s, I would describe myself as a 3. I have a great business. And I'm getting towards the end of my career. I'm looking to build a business and a retirement income engine. And so I want to try to answer questions based more for what you guys are looking for as an audience than me. Okay, I don't see any questions and I don't see any hands up. I do see a lot of answers of where you guys are working. Let's see here. Donna Pensacola, welcome. Perry Rogers, hello from Nashville. Very nice. I don't know how to say it right, Nashville. Roger is from Alameda County, California. I have a team member in Alameda who just joined me, John Fraker, who's in Oakland. Courtney is, welcome back, Courtney, from Cypress, Houston area. So really you'd be that's a metro area. Cypress is a area of Houston. Very good. And Roger has been in business 45 years. So Roger, you've been doing it repeating that first year 45 times in a row, or are you hopefully at the survival mode, or maybe you're at number 3. So that's for you to decide, obviously. Winston Company, always a pleasure. Do we prefer your wife? Andy Moss, Boston area. Sorry about the Celtics. My wife's a Celtic fan. I'm a Laker fan. So I'm going to say to you, I feel sorry about your loss. I say it facetiously. And Steve is in Southeast Valley of Phoenix. Okay, so more metro. Okay. I have a little bit of content created here today, but I'm looking for any questions or comments before we get started. Anybody have any questions or any victories you want to report or any losses you want to share with us? I don't see any. I see clapping from Courtney. I think that was from before though. Any hands up in the Zoom app under reactions? There's a hand. If you want to raise your hand. Oh, there you are. Courtney, come on in. Let's get you into the, there you go. What's going on?
Good afternoon, Bill. How are you, sir?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Question for you. I have a supplier of my leads list. I found one this week. It's very interesting, and I want a little input. $3.28 million property value. Ran the name. I recognized the name as a family name here in the Houston area. This man owned oil companies and was a philanthropist, and quite a success story here. And I happened to just recognize the name, looked it up. 2 of his children are attorneys active here in Houston. And he's got a $3.8 million piece of property in probate. How do you think something like that came around?
Well, there's a lot of possibilities. And when you say probate, actually did a video yesterday. Probate court in some areas includes terminology like guardianships, conservatorships, and trust litigation. In LA, all those are handled in probate court. Okay. So it might, now when you say you got it from a data, I imagine you got it from like alltheleads.com or US Data or Probate Data, one of those. So typically they want to get as many leads as they can or piece of data as they can. I'm really careful not to call them leads. I call it data because that's really all it is. In LA County, for example, we have 500 probate filings a month. So I imagine LA, they only do petitions for probate. But it might be in other counties. I don't know Houston, but you guys have multiple counties. So you don't have, I don't think one really big county like we have, but I think you have multiple. No? I see your music.
No, the main one here in the city is Harris County. It's
there you go.
It's
yeah,
all encompassing. I'm in Cypress, but it's actually part of Harris.
How many probates are done in Harris County monthly, would you say?
On my list right now, straight out of the, I'm getting somewhere right under 500 a month. Anywhere from 775 to just 480, 490. Yeah, so it's just under 500 per month in
Okay.
one county.
So you might want to check and see, are they getting just probate? Like, I don't know the particular forms in Harris County or Texas by memory, but California, petition to administer an estate, petition to file a probate, or spousal reports or conservatorships. All those would be end up at probate court, and different vendors may or may not add that into your data. So it could be any of those situations. It also could be that somebody didn't file the trusts. Could be somebody didn't move that one property in the trust. Could be they moved the property out of the trust for some reason, a refinance or a family issue, and forgot to put that one back in the trust. Could also be that while they put everything in a trust, before they put in the trust, he had an ex-wife or he had a marriage, or grandma had a marriage before he got it, or whoever he bought it from. And so there's a probate that hangs things up before it got in the trust. So there's a lot of possible scenarios. And I think that you finding out the answer, that it will also help you give better service. So I look it up and get as much information as I can. In Harris County, are you able to get copies of probate filings? So can you see the petition they filed?
Yeah, I can't order them. I got to go down to the courthouse and actually look at them on record there. I got to do it in the courthouse. So this one
is there a service that you can pay for that but they charge you per page, like Unicourt?
I will have to look. I've never actually thought about trying to use the service. I have an annex courthouse here. Harris County is so big, we have multiple courthouses. There's 6 actual courts for probate alone in Harris County in the main courthouse, but we have annexes outside where we can go and actually get to the clerk of courts and clerk of records and actually go in and sit at the computer and look things up. So I've got this case number. I'm just really curious. It's so notable and the name is so notable. I'm just finding it kind of odd that this would be outside of a trust, knowing that 2 of his children are actually active attorneys.
Well, was that notable? This is the kind of thing that I think is of interest to you. It should be interested to your clients who also need to plan for probate, avoid probate. And like I said, some of these stories are good cautionary tales to your customers, why they need to check their estate, every couple of years, why they should make sure all their assets are in, check with a realtor to make sure your properties are properly, deeded in properly. So there's a lot of possible scenarios. I think I would love you to find out, come back next week and tell us, and then hopefully we'll have a solution that can be a benefit to help you get a deal.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do a little research on it, and I've got the contact information for both the law firms and both of the children, because obviously they're registered with the bar. And I'm going to reach out to them and just say, hey, this is what I do, and I'm looking to learn something. Can I be of service? Can I be of help? If nothing else, can it be an educational moment for both of us?
I'm guessing that if the data is available in annexes, there's a service called Unicourt you can subscribe to and pay, I think it's like $1.50 a page. Now, you be judicious as to which pages you get, but a case like this, it might be interesting. And again, I look at that as both research to get a lead as well as content for my business. So I kind of have a budget for that, and a credit card really just for that, and I have a virtual assistant who's pulling those records all day long and updating my database. So definitely worth looking into. Okay. Thanks, Courtney. Okay, so let's see here. Where were we? Put spotlight. And then I see a question from Steve. Steve, great question. Can I get you to turn on your camera and jump in here? Your camera's on. Can I get you to unmute and let's bring you in and let's talk about your question. There's the beautiful Arizona desert.
On my balcony looking out over my backyard.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I wish. Thank you for taking my question. Yeah,
Sure.
I've been Red X dialer, but I understand it has a pause before somebody will pick it up, and there are systems out there, and I was wondering if anybody has some suggestion and some experience with them.
I have a lot of experience. In fact, in Red X, they interviewed me years ago on their podcast. If you search Bill Gross and Red X, you'll hear an interview I did with them. I use a different dialer. But where you're going to find is, I'm using multiple, like I think they have a 3-line dialer, or, 3 or 1 or 2. Which one are you using?
I'm using the single because it's very annoying. I get a lot of calls where I pick up and I know I'm the second or third person to pick up, and it disconnects. And I don't want to do that to people. I
would strongly recommend anybody using it. I use a different one, Prospect Boss, which used to be called Sales Dialer. And I just did that one because it was easier to upload, and I just use a single dialer, and I only really use it for when I'm calling my center of influence I don't use it for cold calling. So for me, it's more of it kind of forces me. If I have foreign phone calls I'm behind on, I upload them and it starts me and it kind of gets me into that motion. But what I would say is I strongly urge anybody using a dialer to test it on somebody. I find my spouse is my best critic. She's glad at giving me every single inch of criticism I deserve and then some. But I would definitely test it out a couple times. And I would also be very careful how you connect to the internet when you do this. And then whether you use a landline or a internet line. So what do I mean by that? How do you connect to the internet? I would only use it if I had a direct cable connection, not a Wi-Fi, because Wi-Fi has occasional drops. And those drops will only happen when you have a really hot lead and you're ready to close it for an appointment, in my experience. And then the third part is I know RedX and the other ones have a system where either you can use their dialer, I think they call it SIP or something, but it's an internet protocol where they have a dialer built in through the internet, but that's an internet phone. And that's subject to traffic and issues there, versus there's ones where you dial in your phone and they connect the internet on the other end to your phone line and you have a better connection. So I know Redx offers that. I know Sales Dollars offers that, or Prospect Boss. They all offer that. It's easier to use their phone line. But again, I would urge you to test it because that quality of phone call is critical, especially if you're going to spend 3 hours a day making phone calls. You really want to be as productive as you can. I found none of them are as good as me talking directly. So I'm sorry, I didn't put my phone on, not to disturb. So there we go. Okay, so there you go. So that's my best advice, which is test it. It doesn't matter what my experience is. It's your computer, it's your internet, and then I would use a spouse or a friend and call multiple times and check on it and see what kind of advice you get. As far as systems, I used to actually have a in-office phone event 4 or 5 days a week, and I have 40, 50 people come in. I have people come in with every system you can imagine. So I've seen them all, and it's a competitive industry. Software is very competitive. So I would say the difference isn't so much in the technology, it's in how you use it. So whichever system you're with, if you're with RedX, I wouldn't change as long as the connection is good. I would spoke, it's not good. But is the connection not good because of your Wi-Fi? Is it because of your computer? Is it because you're using internet access? We don't know that. So I would definitely test out the hardware. And then some of these systems offer like a free 7-day trial. I would try Prospect Boss on a 7-day trial and see if that works for you, or try it for a month. I'm a professional, so for me, my tools and my systems are really important. Just like, I'm not at all handy. I'll just admit, like I don't even hang pictures. I call my son-in-law. I have like a little toolbox with some stuff in it. Once in a while, I'll pull out a hammer. I don't know what I'm doing. But when I go by a job site and I see guys who are hammering for a living, they have like professional quality tools. And so I've taken the same attitude to my equipment and my business, right? My microphone, my headset. I have an Apple, I have a MacBook Pro. So when people call me on my cell phone, thinking to call my phone, at least shows up there. I can type text back. I use professional grade tools as best I can. So I would just urge you to take the same approach to your dialing as well and just test it out. And I would test it multiple times, a couple of times during the day. If you're going to call in the morning, I would call a couple of different mornings and check it out.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Sure, Steve. Thank you. A little bit more you guys want to know on dialing. But anyhow, that's, I have a lot of experience in that area. It's something I feel passionate about. What I would also would just say, just a reminder from a couple of weeks ago, I really am against cold calling. Number one, I don't know how you do it legally. In fact, I know, Steve, you're with EXP. We're in the same company. So I would just say to you, be really careful. From a compliance point of view, when you get data from alltheleads.com, probate data, US data, my experience is 90% say around the do not call list. Of the data that I buy from 2 different sources. They don't give me a discount. I don't want to advertise them, but I buy 2 for different reasons. At least 90% of the listings are say do not call by the phone numbers. So I don't know how you just by calling them. And I know we've all had our little story how we got around that. But particularly, Steve, you're with EXP, I don't think that's an option for you. Second of all, I just think that's a tough road to go in that we think we're talking to people because we are talking to people, but so are another 10 or 20 calling the same numbers. And I just think that it encourages us. If I was going to give you one piece of advice that nobody ever listens to, That's the one thing to guarantee your success or failure. And I say this all the time. And for those of you who've heard me before, I'm going to get on my soapbox for just give me 1 minute. I'll get right back off, which is start with all the people you already know. Like, start with them and don't call strangers for 3 hours a day and say, well, yeah, but I'm talking to all these people to think of selling their house if they're not really selling their house with you. If you're a great cold call and you get through that barrier, great. But most people think of that as a shortcut. It's not a shortcut. At best, most of those people go into your database and the majority of them will list with you or sell with you a year or two down the road. Why not talk to people who already know you? So again, I had a long conversation on that a couple weeks ago, and this isn't my program. I'm helping Chad or filling into a program here, but I want to just say I feel very strongly that the biggest mistake, the surest path to destruction, is ignoring the people you already know, and just make sure you don't use a dialer to help you do that. Okay, I'm off my soapbox now. You guys can relax. Questions, comments, problems, areas. What can I help you guys with today?
Bill, greetings. I have a question. So I finally networked with my first probate attorney. I gave him 2 really, really good referrals. I even dropped off these like boutique cupcakes with like my branded folders. But it's been now like 3 weeks, and I know that I've seen he's done deals from the county clerk, and I know those deals he'd probably been talking to them for months. But I feel like he's a kind of a top producer in the attorney probate sphere in my county. What can I do to follow up? I just feel like talking with attorneys is kind of like a different area. You can't be too long with I don't know. Do you have any suggestions?
So,
tricky one.
No, I want to say something, but I don't want to be too crass. I'm trying to think of how to. I'm trying to catch myself so I don't say something I'm going to regret here in video. But I would say that I'm older than you. I probably won't be your father. But kind of, if you think of the format of old-fashioned dating for marriage or traditional dating for marriage, let's use that scenario. I think sales is more analogous to that than going night clubbing to consummate physical intimacy. And I use that term because it feels crass, but I do think that we should feel the same way about sales, meaning it should repulse us. We go, whoa, ho. You drop a couple cupcakes, you notice you did business with somebody else, but it was a few months ago. Like, well, of course, because it's about building a relationship. And the relationship is about the relationship, is not about the transactions. And so I think the things I would say about that is, unlike dating for marriage, you're not marrying one person here, right? When you date for marriage, theoretically, or in most people's cases, you're going to have one spouse. I guess unless you're a polygamist, but in general, 99.9% of the world, you're going to have one spouse. So unlike that, with attorneys, you'd like to have 3 or 4 or 5, right? One at a time. And so you can't put the same energy into one person that you would otherwise. And you can't have the expectations that, well, I did all this for them. No different than in a dating scenario. Well, I took her out to dinner 4 or 5 times. How come we're not blah, blah, blah? And the answer is, could be a lot of reasons why. In fact, I'll just share with you, to use the analogy of dating, my wife and I, when we met, 37 years ago. And 2 things were true. One, we started dating and she didn't show me the interest I thought I was supposed to get. So I stopped calling her. And about a week or 2 later, she called me to say, hey, I just want to let you know if I was a little cold, it was because of blah, blah, blah. And I really think you're a great guy. And I would like to see you again. Okay. And so we did. And now we're married 36 years with children and child and grandchildren. At one point after that, we were together, and she said, I'm not looking to get into a relationship because I came off a bad breakup. And what I knew she really meant was, I'm desperate to get married. I think you're the man of my dreams. Now, why couldn't she say that to me? Right? It's uncomfortable. And same with an attorney, that no attorney wants to admit that their realtors they've entrusted their clients with don't know much more than average. So it's hard to admit they're dealing with the wrong person. You have to give them space to grow into that. And I'm not saying, therefore, give them business forever. I would say spread around a little bit. And I would say also, it takes more than just a couple things. It's a relationship. And so what does that mean to you? And to me, it means that's why I use content. It's the easy way to go there. An alternative could be like when I was in the mortgage business years ago, long time ago, I used to go to offices and I'd pop into offices 2 or 3 times a week to get business, to real estate offices. Sometimes I bring a pen. Sometimes I bring notepads. Sometimes I bring food. Sometimes I just show up and said hello. So it's a relationship. You need to find out what do they need and how can you build that relationship with them over time. They're all going to be different and you're going to be different. But it's going to take longer than you expect because relationships are a marathon, not a sprint.
Well, I might have shot myself in the foot because when you had that one of the best classes I've seen on probate yet, you hosted on Thursday, that full circle care, which I think is such a beautiful enhancement to my own program of how, providing value to my clients. I emailed him a few days after that, kind of explaining hey, this is a new thing I'm going to be adding to my program. You can too. He's like, this is a little too much to digest. Let me get back to you next week. But now it's been a week and a half. And I'm I'm probably reading into things too much, but I know that, I don't know. I thought it was such a great service. So I don't know if I shot myself in the foot by coming on too strong. I don't know. I just thought that was such a great value.
Okay, so you sent to one of your attorney prospects.
Yes.
And so 2 things I would say is, one, maybe it's not the right tool for them.
Yes.
They may not care.
Yeah.
Or second, maybe you didn't present it in a way that was bite-sizable for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You show up with a cake and whether you should just give them a bite. So I think sometimes we have to take responsibility for our communication not being as effective as we'd like, and always seek to improve it. And if you really like that full oh my God, I don't know what full circle aftercare, which I think is phenomenal. Then I think you have to, and I signed up and I got some referral stuff, and I'm really trying to digest myself. How do I present this to my clients in a way that's productive for them? In some cases, I'm just going to pay it on behalf of the attorney. It's just an easy one for me. But I think you have to really think about how you're going to present it in a way that creates value, because can you give value to somebody in a way they don't appreciate it?
No.
Yeah, you can. Right? People give you advice all the time you don't really appreciate it because they don't give it to you in a way that you want it.
Mm.
So here's a case where maybe this is a great thing, but you might be helping remind them that they're not really client focused. And the other thing is sometimes people don't respond because they know they're not a fit for you. So don't take that too personal. So don't get too caught up in 1 or 2 people. Remind me again, where do you sell houses?
Dallas. I just don't have a larger sphere because I'm not from here. And that second referral I gave him was for a $5 billion deal where he's going to charge per hour. So it was man, I kind of gave him 2 referrals when I probably could have used that second one to open up a relationship for another. But it came at 4:45 before a 3-day weekend, and she wanted someone to talk to right then. And I only have one attorney's number in my Rolodex. So did that customer sign up with the attorney? Yep.
And you stayed in touch with them during the process?
Yes. I said, I'd just like to keep, you handle the client, but I'll just keep my hand on her shoulder.
Is there real estate in the deal?
Yes. And they have a chain of titlement issue where they can't find any deed that's been recorded for over 100 years. So it's going to be a huge settlement because it's acres and it's of over $5 billion worth of land.
Okay, but I'm saying, are you going to be the realtor on the deal?
No, I will not.
How come?
Another colleague of mine in my brokerage referred it to me, and it was her cousin who also is an agent in Texas. So it's her family, her personal family. And so I think there's so many agents touching that deal. It was just great for me though, because it fed into my, that attorney will remember me because of that. But I made that split decision right before a holiday weekend to connect, I don't know. I made a split decision right before they closed.
Another thing I've done with attorneys I referred to and got not got back is I've asked them to interview them and talk about the referral I gave them. Because now you're getting some testimonial and you're getting some YouTube love and Facebook love for the next attorney who goes, wow, that's pretty cool. If you can give out $5 million estates, I'd like to get that out, and then more likely to take your phone call. So I would give up on it. I would stay close to real estate. If it's a broker in your office who you referred, help them out by giving them a service, I'd stay close to the deal. I'd ask them to let you stay close to the deal and market it as much as they allow you to, as though it's yours. If it's the same brokerage, you can market it almost fully. Right. So I would stay close to that deal. The fact you're not getting paid on it isn't really relevant. You solved the problem.
Yeah.
That's really what people want. Nobody cares where your commission split is. They just care that you got the problem solved for them. So make sure everybody you know in your sphere, make sure every realtor you know in the country knows you're the Dallas guy with probate connections. And then also make sure the other agents in your office as well know.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Sure, man. Thanks, Daniel. Okay, so who else has a question, comment? I got on my soapbox. Nobody responded at all. Expect a couple. What the hell are you talking about, Bill? You're making my life sound so.
I have one, Bill.
There you go, Jeannie. What's going on?
Well, and as I was thinking about it just a moment ago, I thought, it just sounds so messy that it's like, oh,
Love it. Love messy.
God, you tell
Just
me.
for the record, hold on just 1 second. I just want to say for the record, fake. No, I'm not saying you are, but in general, real probate agents brag about how messy their deals are. So check your attitude.
Okay. It's actually a trust, blended family. They did a trust in 2017. They redid the trust in 2021, but never signed or notarized it. Husband and wife die in February, a week apart from each other. So the children are in their 70s, now realize that the 2017 trust is the one that's in play, and it left the house to the wife's son only. It was her house when she remarried, and so that's kind of how it is. But unfortunately, in that trust, they named one child's ex-wife as the successor trustee, and she's refusing. And the backup in the trust was that then a corporate trustee has to step up, and the estate's too small for a corporate trustee. So the offspring went to a couple of attorneys who and had a little bit of trouble finding one to take it. Oh, and then to add the complication, there's a reverse mortgage on the property. So I helped them find an attorney that I knew was quick and reasonably priced, which was sort of what they need. They're trying to work it out, but between these blended family, they're sort of not agreeing. And so the son, who is probably the rightful heir to the house, decided he wants to go try look for a fiduciary, and the fiduciary hates the attorney they have. So, and the beneficiaries who are not getting the house like the attorney and insist that I be the realtor. So the worst part is the clock is ticking because of this reverse mortgage, and I don't know how they're going to straighten this out,
Well, and first off, I think congratulations on having a nice messy deal.
Thank you.
And you're in California. Is this deal in California as well?
It is Los Angeles County.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, this is one of the challenges is the trust wasn't written in a way that allowed, for what this turned out to be, which is unsatisfactory solution. And of course, in hindsight, one could say, well, you should have done it this way. And so this is the kind of thing that you want to talk to an attorney about. I interview attorneys all the time on my video channel about these circumstances, how to avoid them. And one is to think about appointing a couple of successors, and then there's a cost involved in it. So how are you going to pay for that? Now, this is a trust, not a probate. It's going to probate court because they're fighting over the trust now? They're litigating the trust?
Because they have to get a successor trustee in place,
Oh, so the trust doesn't have any other answer other than corporate trustee?
Exactly. It was either this ex-wife who refused, or corporate trustee, and none of the corporates want it.
Does the ex-wife know she can get paid for doing that work?
Yes. And And they even said, would you just be a signer? We will do all the work and we'll pay you just to sign off. The speculation is that, she's been remarried for 25 years, that her current spouse is saying, I don't want you involved in this. That's the speculation.
Well, look, there's risk of being sued and being type of litigation and the time and effort involved in it. So I understand it's not something one should take lightly. Yeah, I don't have a solution. Obviously, I don't know the details of the case, but what I would say is, this is why we get involved, and our job is to try to help negotiate these challenges. And I try to be the calm port in the storm. Sometimes I have to step out and say, I really can't help you. There's just too much drama. And other times I try to help them out. I have a case right now where this woman she's just too much drama. And I was talking to her on Friday, and we're on the phone for half an hour, and I'm trying to get her to meet with an attorney to file the probate. And she's like fighting with me. Well, she has to do this, and this beforehand. I said, listen, you've waited 2 years. You should have filed 2 years ago. And you can't and she can't solve some problems until she has authority, the levels of authority. So you're running around solving all these other problems because you have no authority. You need to get authority. And you and I have been talking for 30 days. You'd filed 30 days ago. You'd have authority by now. And after 30 minutes on the phone with her, said, listen, I just can't help you anymore. We spent 30 minutes on the phone. You're arguing with me. I don't want to argue with you. I don't need to argue with you. You want my advice? Take it. You want my advice? Good luck. I'm happy for you. Wish you the best. But I'm not going to be on the phone arguing with you to do what I know you need to do. Either you'll do it or you won't. And I really don't care either way. So it's one of those things where you have to kind of draw some lines. And I get involved with a lot of these deals, and some deals I have to walk away from. You have to know when to hold them and when to fold them. So
yeah.
So I'd be glad to talk to you offline specifically in this one. If you want to look up the case, maybe I know some of the players and can color it a little bit for you. But I don't think it's appropriate on this phone call to get in those details as far as I can tell.
If the woman you talked about agreed to file, would you work with her, or you already think she's too much drama?
Well, we left on Friday. She finally, when I told her, I'm going to hang up the phone now because it's been over 30 minutes. I asked her a question. How long do you think we'll be on the phone for? She said 30 minutes. I said, well, how long do you typically talk to people on the phone? Oh, 30 minutes to an hour. I said, whoa, okay. Let me just explain to you. 5 or 10 minutes. I'm in business. You're not my mother. You're not my daughter. This isn't that kind of relationship. I'm here on the phone to communicate so we get things done. There's nothing to talk about for 30 minutes, and we certainly need to argue for 25. I'm just not going to do it. I don't enjoy it, and I'm entitled to pick and choose what I want to do in my life. So to answer your question, we left it. She was an email attorney because she was complaining the attorney wasn't responsive enough for her. There's a woman who doesn't work. I can never get her on the phone. She doesn't respond to me. She only has one email account that only works when she's at work. One of those kind of people. A million excuses for herself. And the attorney reached out to her via email over the weekend, and she never responded. I called her this morning, haven't heard back. So to answer your question, she's either going to sign up with them or not. And if she signs up with another attorney, where normally I would work with her, I'm going to take that as a good sign to move on. So
yeah, interesting. Thank you.
Sure. Good luck, Jay. Okay. Some good stuff so far, Tim. Some good meaty problems, huh? But again, I hope I wasn't too harsh, Janie, but I would just, because I know you're a legitimate probate agent, I would just say maybe you weren't the moment you and I were speaking, which is that I think I can tell when an agent's not going to make it his business when they complain about all the problems on file. You have to realize all those problems are kept all the competition away from you. And if you solve the problems, you're the agent, but then the house is easier to sell. And I think that's the other thing that's lost in the marketing of these companies that present this opportunity to realtors. It's true that the property probably has to be sold, unlike a retail seller who is trading up or says they want to move to the market. They may or may not move to the market. But these deals are a little harder to get. Once you get them, yeah, they're more motivated. In my experience, they're vacant in many cases. And or if they're not vacant, whoever's living there doesn't belong there. So I would definitely urge you to take a shot at it. But I would definitely say we all need to check our attitude from time to time. And a lot of problems is a good thing. Even the problem I have this other file, I don't care. Another agent isn't going to do a better job than me with her. In fact, it'd be kind of funny if she tried to go to another attorney without me. I feel sorry for the attorney because I run interference with the client for the attorney. That's how I help them handle cases they can't handle otherwise. The attorney without me is going to have a nightmare. In fact, I might, the attorney is, call the attorney she files just to say I work with her. I know the background. If you want me to help, I'd be glad to step in. But I have to limit myself. Okay. 40 minutes in. Other questions, challenges, problems, victories you guys want to share?
Hey, Bill.
Yes. Hey, who's this? Saul, what's
This
up?
is Saul. Hey, I didn't realize you wanted a rebuttal to your statement when you're on the soapbox.
Go ahead.
But I'm going to say I agree with you to a certain extent, since I do understand that you have been in the business for quite a while and in your location for quite a while, like 20 years, 20 some odd years. Whereas I am essentially a transplant to the area I'm in. So my sphere of influence, thanks to the Navy, has been reduced because I was moved from my home area to an area where it was totally new to me, and I've had to grow in my sphere of influence. So by using the leads that I use for my probate reach out, I find those very helpful. Like I said, I do try to grow my sphere of influence. I follow your suggestions. I grow my sphere of influence, reach out to them. I have had some listings from those, but I'm finding that reaching out to some of these probates and offering the service that we offer, it's working. So I agree with you. However, it also works the other way too.
Well, so if you're open to going into detail about it, let's make sure we're clear. How long have you been in real estate? Well, first, thanks for your service, by the way.
You're welcome.
How long have you been in real estate?
Officially, I've been a real estate agent 5 years, but I have been investing, flipping, wholesaling for about 11 years.
Is your probate for real estate sales, for investing, flipping, or both?
For three, for selling, buying, and keeping and investing.
Okay. So of the properties you've invested in or wholesale, what percentage were probate?
This year, I want to say 90%.
Fantastic. Good for you. And 9% of your business comes from contacting petitioners from the data that you're purchasing?
Yes.
And it sounds like you're making a living at it.
Yes.
You're one of the very few. Good for you. I don't want to say it doesn't work. I was a Mike Ferry agent. I made a living calling expired listings 3 or 4 hours a day. 95%, 99% of people who went down that path didn't make it. I didn't have a choice really. And once I started, I kind of was stuck and made it work and did real well with it. And so I don't want to say this doesn't work. I want to say it doesn't work as often as presented. And I'm not sure of your circumstances. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. But I'm concerned, my guess is maybe you're a little more disciplined or more. And the other part is if you're an investor and a wholesaler, you have some additional skills that somebody starting out in this business may not have. And the last thing I would say is that, let me ask you. So how often are you cold calling the data and for how long?
I try to call every day. Realistically, it's 3 to 4 days out of the week.
And when you do call, how many hours do you call for? How much time do you call for?
I'd say a minimum of 1 hour. I try to make it 2 hours. And a lot of that goes into searching the properties, making sure they're still available, making sure they're not sold or pending, or making sure the properties are still available. So I'm not calling useless. So I'm not wasting people's time when they tell me the property's already sold.
How much of your income is based as an investor versus as a real estate agent?
I'd say it's good question. I say 25, 75.
25 investors, 75 realtor?
Yes.
Wow, you're really the outlier. So I don't even know how to say it otherwise than most people cold calling for an hour a day will end up spending half the time researching and we'll really talk to 3 or 4 people at most daily.
Right.
3 or 4 days a week, that's 10 to 12, 15 people a week. Most agents where people building a business that at that level are going to starve. So you're doing something really, really well. Keep at it, do more. But one of the challenges is that the only thing you're doing for your lead generation is that hour of phone calls 3 or 4 days a week?
No, I guess I should have. Full disclosures, we reach out to pre-foreclosures too. My wife's on my team. She's awesome. So we get out there. We hustle. We hustle. Like I said, we're investors, so we're trying to keep a few and get some investment properties. So that's growing.
Yeah, I would say that if you're doing something as an adjunct to what you're doing, that's great. It's not enough to make a living on. So for an experienced agent, you got to work on your sphere. For a brand new agent, you need to work on your sphere as well. And I would also say that if you're okay cold calling the rest of your business career, then keep doing it. The problem is it's a bit of a treadmill that you can't get off. Most people find it hard to build enough business in the long run. If you, while you're cold calling, are mindful and build your foundation, build your database along the way, and market to that as well, over time, you have so much business with people that you already know that you don't have to cold call anymore. That's the goal.
Yes.
And I've seen more people do that than make it what you're doing. So good luck and congratulations. And again, I think that it's funny because I watched another coaching program, and there's somebody who did some cold calling for 3 months or 6 months, and they got a bunch of leads, and they're being celebrated and put forward as, yeah, you could do this too. And the answer is no, most people can't do it too. Most people won't do it. Most people can't do it. And I would rather give people a path that they're going to be successful at a higher percentage of time. But again, you might be the outlier, and part of my guess is your wife and your hustle muscle and your discipline is probably a little different than everybody else's.
I take that as a compliment. Thanks.
You should. I think you should, and go with it. And don't let me hold you back. So good for you.
No, I'm an avid listener. Thank you for all you do.
Sure. Thanks all. Okay, so we're kind of coming up on the hour here. Last questions, problems, challenges. Who's got a victory you guys want to share? Anybody else? I mean, I have one that, one of my best attorneys gave me a lead, and I called her and texted her and emailed her and call, text, email about 5 or 6 times. And then he's my best attorney. And I do an email once a week with an update on all the leads I'm working on and all the escrows we have and such. And I just said to him, I've reached out, still haven't heard back from her. And the next day she called me from a different phone number. And she tells me she has so many phone calls. Now she's a little dramatic maybe, but so many phone calls about the probate, she changed her phone number. But she's calling me because the attorney recommended it and there's a problem, and I helped her work through the problem. And hopefully I'm talking to this afternoon to get it signed up. So the moral there is I just kept at it and give up. And then I don't know how it happened that she finally called me. Could she have talked to another agent? I guess, but the attorney referral was pretty solid. So that's why I think she reached out to me. Okay, any last questions, challenges, problems? Before we hit out, just a quick recap of kind of who we are and how we got here. So this is a coaching call we do. It's real estate agent focused, real estate broker focused, part of Probate Mastery, part of the program for alumni, as well as if you sign up for the coaching, is this call every week on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time. ProbateMastery.com is a website. There's a free program, Lifestyle and Career Design. Click on it. It's an on-demand program. Doesn't cost anything. Love to have you start there. And then from there, we get certified. I listen to attorneys kind of poo-poo it. I think the beauty of this is, unlike some of the other states, other courses, they're just on the forms or the timeline of probate. This is the only coaching I know goes into depth on the mindset, the come from, how do you approach people, how do you create value for people, and how do you build a business. So one that I took that really launched my business, Probate Mastery certification course. And then the third program is the EARN program, Earn Attorney Referrals Now. There's attorneys that explain how their business works, how to work with them from across the country. And I think it's a fantastic program. Took it myself, paid for myself, definitely worth the time. As an alum of the program, you're welcome to join Estate Professionals Mastermind. We have 6,500 members nationwide. You can come in here to see content, to post questions, look for referrals for attorneys or realtors across the country. If you have a YouTube or other content, I would put it there. There was a flash sale. When is that good through? Does it say? Oh, it might still be good. Part of the link, the Probate Mastery was 50% off, and so was the return referrals. I know that went up 2 days ago. I don't know if that's still on or not. Let me check it out. McKenna, is that still on? If you're there in the call, I don't think she's in the call today. And then I host separately. ProbateWeekly.com is a weekly podcast. I think it's the largest podcast in the United States on probate real estate, mostly interview format. This coming week, I'll be interviewing a probate litigation attorney as opposed to probate administrative attorney. And then I have a Facebook group of that, Probate Weekly, with 2,700 members there. And again, come in to ask questions, look for referrals, and post your content. I'd love to make connections there. And we do that every Thursday at 4 p.m. probateweekly.com. You can see past episodes on my YouTube channel at episodes.probateweekly.com. Okay, last call. Any questions, comments, victories, agony of defeat? Not the feat, but defeat. For those you're old enough to know where that comes from. If you know where that comes from, put it in the chat box. The agony of defeat, not agony of the feet. If you know where that is, put it in the chat box. If you don't know where it is, you don't know. Sorry. There you go. Janie Bishop's got it. Once I saw you, I knew you knew it right away. And Janie as well. Yeah. Okay. Well, look, that's all I have for this week, guys. Is this a slow week for you guys too? Like my phone's just not ringing. I feel like I'm dragging people into action this morning. So let's make it a great week. If I can help, reach out, call, text, email me. As always, make it a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.